another episode of Inspiration Talks. I'm very excited about today's episode. I have a very special guest all the way from USA. Kate Pintor is with us. She is a business consultant. So before any delay, let's welcome her. Hi, Kate. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you for having me. We're doing well.
You're most welcome. First of all, thank you so much for being part of Inspiration Talks. So, Kate, I would like to start our today's conversation with your childhood. So, where were you born? What did you study? Where did you grow up?
I was born in New England, which is in the northeast corner of the United States. And I spent my first 7 years living in a very tight-knit community in Western Massachusetts. And I had a wonderful it was a small religious community where we had lots of freedom to roam and run around. And I started my first business there when I was 4 years old.
Oh, that's great.
So it was wonderful. And then we moved to the woods in Maine, which is in the country. And I would just adventure in the woods all day in my imagination, building forts and playing. And I went to college for communication and theater. And then I moved out to California right around 19, 20 years old and got my first marketing job in Los Angeles. And that's where my career started.
Okay, that's great to know. So, any favorite childhood memory?
I think my favorite childhood memory that's a great question. We lived near a lake, and I would wake up early in the morning and go and swim before school started. And the peacefulness of the water and contemplating and starting my day mindfully, going through difficult challenges throughout my teen years. The lake was just such a positive, it was a spiritual experience to just have that mindfulness and the peace and quiet in the morning as the sun rises in that area. It's just so beautiful, and the fog is lifting and there's nobody there, and you can swim and write and contemplate. And it's just a wonderful memory of a beautiful place to grow up.
Okay, that's great to know. So, Kate, when you were little, what did you want to be?
I thought I was going to be a writer, and that I really thought I would write plays or for television because it was such an escape. And I would write science fiction, which is very funny. But that's what I thought I would be doing. So I went to school for communication and theater, and I did do some screenwriting in LA, but that's what I thought I would do. And if I wasn't going to be a writer, I would train dolphins and become a marine biologist.
Oh, that's great. Something different.
Totally different direction.
Yeah. So now, as you're a business consultant, so when did you realize that you want to go in business field?
So when I worked at a startup company that grew very fast, and so we grew from a garage into multiple millions in a very short period of time. And I understand some people have a natural rhythm to coordinate all of those moving pieces to help something grow. And I recognized that I had the strengths for it. I was born that way. That's how I thought. That's how I viewed things in systems and creativity. But I loved the energy of finding all of these parts working together. And because I had really great mentors, I never decided to go into business and be good at it. I just found that I was highly skilled and resilient in some of those places within the company. And so they allowed me to be a part of the business development. And I had natural talent for that. So it sort of found me, if that makes sense. It wasn't an idea I had that I wanted to go study. It was a place I was already strong.
Okay, so you were already strong in business. And that's how you ended up going in business field. So how did you deal yourself when you were struggling?
So when I was 27, I ended up with a really severe nerve disease that took away my ability to walk.
Okay.
So I was so good at business and the driving, and I wasn't growing enough emotionally and to cope with some of those stresses. I didn't have the daily life practices. And I had some heartbreak that really created some sorrow, like in my spirit. And I say that smiling, but I think women know sorrow. We know secret sorrows along the journey, and our body keeps the score of that. So I ended up having a traumatic injury that left me with a very rare nerve disease. And it took several years, almost a decade, of living at the highest pain that's measurable. It's worse than amputation of a limb. It's like so severe. It's called complex regional pain syndrome. And the writing and creative writing and learning to really be present with what is, and not fight the pain or try to fix it, or like relaxing all of those business skills and learning to be present with myself was a huge key. And I'm in remission now, so it led me to other, I'm healthy now, which is a miracle. But it was very much a mindful practice of like unwiring all of that hustle out of my body and trusting and cultivating a spiritual path that would allow me to heal.
Okay, so after all,
I'm trying to sum it up.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to understand. Even so, after getting better in health, then you started your business, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah, so I still did consulting during my illness, but when in 2013, I did a year of infusions that helped my body to heal. And I immediately started my coaching business because I had learned so much through coaching about myself, and coaching really gave me a brand new mindset. And I wanted to pay that forward and help others.
Okay, so from this, you started your coaching business.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you figure out to start how did you figure out to create a 6-figure business that time?
Mm-hmm. So I did some certifications for coaching, and one of those was on strengths and talent development. And so I got my certification, and I started to become a master in that art, in that craft. This was my preferred way of coaching. And the very first thing that I did was start a book club so that I could be around people who wanted to have those same conversations about, learning and growing. So I wanted to be around women who wanted to learn and grow and who had been through difficult struggles. And so from that book club, I started to take one-to-one clients. And then I started to teach and build a whole program around your strengths and learning to sing to your own tune and embracing who you are. And then in the business strategy for that was we set up a model of learning and growing and community. And from that community and teaching women, I was able to create a one-to-one program and then a group program. And I built the modules for our program based on my own journey getting well, how I coached myself out of my wheelchair.
Okay, that's great to know. So when you started your business, what was your idea of business when you started?
So my idea of the business was to help women become the most authentic version of themselves. It's very American to say it this way, and I'm well aware.
Yeah.
But it's a very American concept, this authenticity. And I would say in any other place, because I have women that attend from all over the world, we do want, even if we don't need American language for it, we do want to be seen and known and valued. And we want intimacy. And that is underneath what is authenticity. It's just that I can be both my wonderful self, and I'm very strong, and also I have weaknesses, but I'm not judging those all the time. And the little voice in my head that's very critical, I can turn the volume down on that voice. And I wanted women to have the freedom in their mind, like turning the voices in their head into a beautiful team. And so that was my intention from this work, was to help women liberate their minds so they could really enjoy their life. And that was our goal.
Okay, that's great goal. So, okay, how much money did you invest when you started your business?
I didn't invest very much at all because I'm all about relationship capital. So like the certifications are between $2,500 and $7,000 US. And so the certifications would be in that. And then a book club was free. Talking to people is free. Networking is free. The internet is free. I did a free website. And so I didn't have to spend any money at all, except for the certification. By the time I was at, I think I made it to $30,000 without ever it costing anything additional other than, website fees eventually. And after I got to that 30, 50,000, then I hired a branding person. And a lot of people try to do branding at the beginning, or they try to invest to get started. And I'm of the philosophy that you just have to have conversations, and the business comes from being with people. And so if you can have better conversations or show up in that and ask great questions, everything is on the other side of that. And so after 30,000, I probably invested $5,000 to get people, in support of my brand and business cards and event, putting an event on, but very minimal cost for a coaching business. It's a wonderful business to start.
Okay, that's great to know. So Kate, from here, another question arises. From where, how did you get your first client?
So it was a referral from a relationship where they said this woman is going through a transition in her life. So her children had grown up and she was trying to figure out like a career transition. And so we were talking and there was, so she was referred to me, which was great. And I do like a beta. So when I started, I didn't charge anybody for the first. I gave away so much time at the beginning, and I don't recommend that people do that necessarily, but I didn't know at the beginning. I just had as many conversations as I could. I might have had 3,000 conversations before I ever charged somebody. And I don't necessarily recommend that, but but literally because of my own physical journey, that was such a great training in and of itself, and it was free. And so doing 30 free calls at the minimum really helps somebody to get into a mastery of it where they feel more confident charging. I gave way too much time away because I wasn't sure if I had the capacity physically to be able to support the whole business when I started.
How is your business going on right now?
Oh, it's
how
going
much did it develop from past years?
Yeah. So so during COVID, I pivoted a little bit and decided to train coaches and to do more of the strengths consulting to help bring just in the people that I had already served. I became a train the trainer or coach the coach to put my expertise forward. And that is a really wonderful season for our business. And then starting another company that is a movement helping women pursue their dreams in the creative world. So in music, in art, in fashion, and in design, and in all of those creative endeavors as well, bringing back that creativity. And whether it's painting, I believe everybody has something creative, an expression that wants to come, and it's different for each of us. And you don't have to commoditize it, but it should be expressed. It's part of your spiritual journey. Even it's this instead of the doing and in the business, it's in the resting. So I've shifted from in my role, even within it, to help women awaken that creativity. And then with this company that we've started, they have written a song that will be a single in American music. And they're creating a movement to help women come back to that creativity and pursue their dream.
Okay, so when is the song releasing?
The song will be releasing at the end of July.
Okay, all the best.
They just wrapped it up.
Okay, That's great to know. So, Kate, what are the perks of having one's own business? Usually, if one does full-time job, it's from 9 to 5. One has to work for 8 hours. Whereas in business, you have to invest a lot of time. A person has to spend more than 12 plus hours. So, what are your views on this?
The work-life balance is a myth. And there is no such thing as work-life balance when you're an entrepreneur. It's more like ebbing and flowing, expanding and contracting. So if you are not, if you love what you do and you are in charge of it, you can ebb and flow like a tide, and you find your own circadian rhythm, and you find your own natural rising and your natural going to sleep. And then the business becomes a lifestyle within that. However, it's really important because it could be you never, right now I'm working from home, which I don't always love to do. I would rather be out with people, but it's last 3 years, we've been home a lot, everywhere, right? And so I've connected with a lot of people through the computer, but I also know I need time off of that. I can't be in technology. I just want to be in my garden, and be away from it. And so that I can maintain more health along that journey. My advice for people who are trying to, that have a hard time knowing when to stop and are feeling like they always have to be working, is to create really clear intentions and agreements with our families when we're in family mode. So if I'm in motherhood mode and I have children, I'm fully with them. And I do feel sometimes when I'm fully with them, I'm thinking about what I need to work on. And so I take notes in my phone and I say, hey, Siri, take a note. And I let my phone and the technology support me. I leave my full brain in my Google Calendar unless I mess up a day like yesterday. But so you use the technology to help you so you can be where you choose to be. And it's really important to be fully present wherever you choose to be. So make agreements with your family, make agreements with yourself, and use the technology to be your brain so that you can enjoy your family and enjoy whatever else you might want to participate in.
That's right. I completely agree with you. Do whatever you are doing, be present in that moment rather than like being in somewhere and spending time on social media rather than giving time to family. I completely agree with the point which you said. So now I would like to know, what do you think are the pros and cons of business?
Pros and cons of business for women?
Yeah, for women.
For women. The pros are confidence. It feels really good to be able to pay your own bills in my world. So knowing that if something happened, I can generate income and provide for my children if I had to do that. That it feels good to have skills and to know the value and your worth in meaningful work. That's a beautiful feeling, to have meaningful work that you get well paid for. And also, I believe that when we're doing that meaningful work, it keeps your body healthy because you're contributing and it produces energy and it supports. If you're happy in your work and you're loving it, you're a better wife, you're a better mother, you're a better sister, a better daughter, because you have a source of joy throughout the day where you contributed and had a reward. And we need that. We need something like that where we can contribute from our gifts. The cons to that, the downside of it is it can feel there's so much hustle culture. That's the phrase we use here of like always driving to get the next client, driving to learn the new system. Technology is running very fast. So if you don't like to learn the technology or you don't enjoy the pressures of that, it's hard to find the right team and put the right people in there because it feels like it's never enough. It's not consistent. And so it has to be something worth going through the hardship of becoming the person who can actually run the business. Whatever you want on the other side has to be so compelling. It's worth the learning, the unlearning, the despair, the dark night of the soul, the determination that might occur in pursuit of that goal. And so some people who are highly sensitive find their gifts incompatible with that structured side of the business, and they need to find a partner for that because it just feels incompatible to their natural way of being. They want to drive more emotionally, and in business you have to be both emotional and logical for it to work.
That's right. So now let's move towards let's imagine and inspire. So Kate, if you win a lottery ticket, for example, infinite amount of money, how will you spend it?
Oh, lottery. I think I would buy property in the mountains so that all of my children can build houses.
Okay, that's great.
And I would like to create a healing center for compassion fatigue, so that the coaches and healers and spiritual directors who are pouring out so much in their communities that they could come rest and restore. And that would be my priority.
Okay, so if you had a time machine, where would you prefer to go, in your past or in your future?
Ooh, what a great question. I would go into my future.
Okay, that's great to know. So, Kate, if money wasn't a factor, then how would you have spent your time?
What a great question. I would be writing and playing music and spending time having spiritual discussions and life
Okay.
discussions, meeting women all over the world. So I would still be doing this with you.
Okay, you will be doing with me. Okay, so Kate,
Yes,
what do you think pain teaches us? Can we grow without pain?
I have a lot to say about pain. Pain is my teacher. That's always a phrase I use. So it's so funny. Um, let's see. So pain teaches us to be in the here and now. It
Okay,
teaches us to release control. It teaches us that life is always changing. And it reminds us of how resilient we are if you don't resist it. If we fight pain, it has very different lessons for us.
yeah, that's right. So, does anyone
Yes.
inspire you in life?
Yes. I was always inspired by like Mother Teresa, by
Uh-huh.
humble women who spend their life in service. And Corrie Ten Boom was a book I had read a long time ago. People who have survived unbearable circumstance in war and maintained humility and positive outlook and a love for God and life, despite those, like Anne Frank, those people have been the beacons for me in my journey.
Okay, that's great to know. So, Kate, any advice for those who are looking forward to start their own businesses?
Have a flexible vision
Yeah,
and create a very solid strategy when you're first starting out, but create the strategy so that you have a place to dance and bounce off from, not as a step by step to do it, because it will require a lot of adapting along the way. And so when you're starting out, be really clear on why you're doing it, because if you don't have your why, it'll be very hard to move to the next rung on the ladder. And that why and your passion has to be so significant, it will draw you through. So take time to develop that and interview people
that's right.
about their why.
That's right. I completely agree with you. So, how to connect with people when one is starting their business for the first time? Any tips on it?
There are many global organizations that help people get started. And so look in your local area to find out, like in the Americas, it's SBDC, small business is, there's places where there's free business consulting that you can do. You can go to Udemy, UDEMY online, and there's wonderful global resources there for starting. And I suggest joining a networking group for women. And I think women need each other on this journey.
That's
So
right.
you want a safe community that you can explore and grow with, because it's an emotional journey. And so you need both that business side, but also to find people that you can open your heart and share, who are excited and are championing you. If you tell your family, they might not be the support you need. So maybe don't tell everybody what your idea is if you're starting it, but like hold it like a little ember and like like keep it alive, and then find people who will champion you to do it. Find good mentors.
It was great talking with you, Kate. I really enjoyed talking with you. Here is a small gesture from me to you. Okay, anything which you would like to say in the end, Kate?
Thank you so much. Feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook. It's Kate Pintor, and would love to have you follow along this journey. I would love to know your dream and what you're thinking about and creating. So get in touch. Yes, I think it's always inspiring to be with people who are curious and learning, and that fills my soul.